Friday and Saturday, the all-important days for the low income. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now in this video, I want to share with you the details of a new report that was released reminding us of the importance of Friday and Saturday, as some big changes are now going to be happening, and this is going to be impacting about 100 million low-income Americans. Let's get into it and talk through what's going on and what we need to be aware of as these changes are coming very, very soon. However, really quickly before we do, thanks so much for joining me. If you're enjoying this video so far and you want more like it, please make sure to subscribe right down below the video. It's totally free to do so, and I'm here for you right by your side each and every day, watching all this new information hitting the wire and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can stay updated with what's actually going on and how it's going to impact you, your money, your benefits, your lifestyle, your bank account, and of course anything popping up right now we can possibly grab and or take advantage of during this very busy, confusing, and uncertain time when things are very, very expensive. Either way, I'm here for you every single day, no matter what. That's my promise, and as always, I'm sticking to it. So again, please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Let's get into it and talk about Friday and Saturday and what is going on here and this message that's being released reminding the low income, watch out, some things are changing in a major way. All right, so I want to throw this out there. This is dedicated to those of you that are enrolled in Medicaid, okay? Not to be mistaken with Medicare, but rather Medicaid, okay? This is very, very important. All right, so we're going to be talking about Medicaid now. All right, so here's what it comes down to. We know this, and I've talked about it before over the last several months now. In fact, for probably the last year now, we've been talking about this, and we knew this was coming at some point. However, we didn't really know when. Up until just a few months ago, we had an idea that this would be coming sooner than later, and here we are, only days away, right? So here's what it comes down to. We know that over the last 3 years or so, since early 2020, in fact, starting in March of 2020, so like what, over 3 years ago now, we had this thing in place called the Public Health Emergency Declaration. In fact, it's still in place now, and it still will be in place for the next month and a half or so, as of right now. But again, we'll see what actually happens here. But here's what it comes down to. Essentially, over the last 3 years, states have not been able to go through and remove people from Medicaid coverages, right? You probably heard me talk about this before. However, that's changing very quickly, okay? So here's what's happening. Now states, in a matter of just days here, will be able to start removing people from Medicaid coverages because of the public health emergency expiration and all kinds of things that are now being canceled that were put in place years and years ago, about 3 years ago when this whole thing started back in early 2020, right? So as a result of that, here's what it comes down to. As of right now, there's about 100 million people enrolled in Medicaid. According to the most recent preliminary information that I'm finding out right now, they're projecting anywhere between about 15 million and 18 million people. Now again, this number has changed many, many times over the last few months. I've seen numbers as low as 6.3 million, and I've seen numbers as high as 25 million people may be removed from Medicaid coverages. The most recent numbers, and in this report, they're showing between 15 million and 18 million. Again, it seems to me, based on what I'm finding, it seems that a lot of people really don't know what the actual number is because there's this huge range that I continue to see. But these are the numbers based on this report right here. Either way, that's a lot of people, 15 to 18 million people that'll be losing Medicaid coverages. Now, here's the thing. They're reminding people. In fact, I'll show you a little bit more about what they're going to be doing here over the coming days and weeks to remind people about this. But here's what they're going to be doing, and this is across the entire country. Now again, depends on which state you're located in, okay? Each state is going to be doing this a little bit differently, which makes it a little bit difficult for me to give you the information because, you know, in California, they might do it different than in Texas, and Texas might do it different than in Florida. Florida might do it different than in New Jersey, and New Jersey will probably do it differently than Idaho. So again, it's going to be a very different process per state. But here's what it's coming down to. Essentially, everybody, again, everybody, okay, very important stuff. Essentially, everybody enrolled in Medicaid will need to reapply. Super annoying, right? What a huge headache. I know, okay? So here's the thing. This is what they're reminding us here in this report is they're saying, get ready, everybody. Everybody on Medicaid will need to reapply, re-enroll in Medicaid as a result of this, because essentially this is going to how they're going to determine your eligibility for Medicaid. I know, super annoying, not what we want to deal with, right? Now, again, I want to point this out very clearly here, which is watch for some communication from your state, okay? So based on the information that they're releasing and based on what I'm finding out there, it looks like based on the state that you're located in, this could be happening within the next few weeks, this could be happening within the next few months, and in some instances, this may be happening within the next year, okay? So again, depends on which state you're located in, but this is what they're now saying in these reports is that they want to remind all low-income people that you've got to reapply for Medicaid, and if you don't, you may be losing coverage, okay? So again, I'm not here to instill fear in anybody. I'm not here to scare you, but rather I want to bring you this information so that you can see what we have to do here, okay? Now, in this report that I'm referring to, they actually gave an example of a man, I don't remember what state he was located in, but I think it was one of the East Coast states. Either way, it doesn't really matter what state he was located in, but here's the thing. He was enrolled in Medicaid, and he didn't reapply. This was, I think, a couple years ago, but basically the example that I'm giving is in this report, he was showing that, he didn't go through the reapplication process. He ended up in the ER for some reason, and all of a sudden he gave his card and they said, hey, this is expired. You lost coverage a year ago, and he didn't even know it, okay? Well, he unfortunately had to go through the application process and was able to get it all straightened out, but honestly, what a headache. I mean, seriously, we want to avoid all this stuff at all costs if we possibly can, okay? And this is all thanks to the public health emergency declaration expiring, something we've been talking about for well over a year now. We've known that this day is coming. I've been warning everybody here on the channel, get ready, it's coming. We don't know exactly when, but we do know that this day is coming. Well, here we are. The days are here, okay? This is it. It is coming right down to the wire here. So this could be happening in your state here relatively soon, or it could be out months. We're not really sure yet, okay? Based on each individual state. It's going to be based on your individual state, okay? Now, one more quick side note that I want to throw out there really quickly, which is, in this report as well, they actually talked about they may be releasing public service announcements, PSAs, that's what PSA stands for, public service announcements, in states across the country right now to remind low-income individuals of this deadline and what you got to do about this, okay? So this is a pretty serious issue. If you see a PSA, a public service announcement being released in your local area, it's probably a pretty big deal. In fact, quick side note, do you remember maybe, when was it? Maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago? I'm honestly not really sure when it was. I remember hearing it. I don't really know the timeline on this, but there were public service announcements, PSAs that were being announced about reminding people to claim stimulus checks. Do you remember that? I remember very specifically hearing it on the radio a number of times over the course of maybe like a couple months' time. It was kind of weird at the time because I even said something to my wife, Corey. Many of you here on the channel know her. You've seen her sometimes in videos, but I said that to her. I was like, this is super weird. They're having an announcement, a PSA on stimulus checks. Do you remember hearing those at all? It was maybe like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. I'm honestly not really sure when it was. I just remember very specifically hearing it, and I think it was maybe a message from the IRS. Maybe it was the IRS that issued that, or the federal government or something like that. I'm not really sure who issued those, but I thought, this is weird. I mean, seriously, if they have a PSA like that, it in other words means it's a pretty serious issue, and in other words, they're trying to help people out. Now, generally, do they really do things like that? I mean, let's be real for a minute. For the most part, not really, right? They kind of be like, well, you got to fend for yourself here, right? But in this case, this may be what they're doing here over the coming weeks and months as well, is offering some of these reminders, maybe through TV, maybe on the radio. I'm not really sure. They didn't specify. It's probably going to be a little bit different based on your state and things like that. But again, just outlining the major importance behind this, okay? So again, I just want to make it very clear. I'm not here to scare anybody. I'm not here to say, oh my, the sky is falling, watch out. I'm not here to say that at all. I'm simply saying we got to be aware of this stuff because you don't want to fall into a situation where you forget to re-enroll or you forget to, submit an application or fill out the paperwork that you've received from your respective state. And then all of a sudden the day comes where maybe you need to pull out your card and they say, hey, sorry, you're not enrolled anymore. You lost coverage like 5 months ago, okay? We want to avoid that, okay? It's going to cause a bigger headache than it would be to just fill out the necessary paperwork when you receive it and to submit it back, okay? So, I know, nobody wants to do this. I get it. But this is something they're telling us. Get ready, everybody. It's coming here, this paperwork. And, oh, I don't know if I said it specifically, Friday and Saturday. Sorry. The whole point behind Friday and Saturday is obviously Friday is the end of the month. Saturday is the beginning of the month, okay? So that is what they're laying out here in this report, is that this is all basically kicking off basically on Friday, okay? The end of the month obviously being Friday, so that is the last day in which this all, is still in place. And once the new month rolls out on Saturday, again, this is where it all comes out. And this is basically where this whole Medicaid re-enrollment thing rolls out, and when this all needs to be, restarted again, okay? The beginning of the next month here, literally in days. So very, very close here. Anyway, of course, as I get more details, I'll continue to be here for you, breaking it all down. Please leave your comments, your questions, your feedback down below. I will do my best to answer those as much as I can. Otherwise, if I need to come back and make another dedicated video and answer a bunch of questions that I see down below, totally fine. I want to help walk you through this process. Again, like I said, it might be a little bit tough because each individual state is going to have their own process to break this all down and let you know your process in your respective state. Again, which is why some of these programs that are federally funded and state administered are kind of tough to work through, because each individual state has their own rules, their own eligibility, their own parameters, their own applications, their own deadlines, all kinds of stuff like that, and it just makes it a little bit tough to make keep everything straight. But you should be receiving some kind of communication from your state, so please be watching for that. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Truly appreciate it. I want to help you out through this. It's a tough time. Seriously, just when things we thought like were maybe calming down, yeah, right. You know what I mean? It's such a weird time right now. Things are changing rapidly. Anyway, please make sure to subscribe down below so you can stay tuned with all the latest updates on this and everything else going on right now. It's a very weird time. Make sure to share this video with your friends, family, social media, especially if you know somebody who is enrolled in Medicaid. There's 100 million of them out there, as in Medicaid enrollees. Therefore, there's a lot of people. Basically, almost a third of the population, about 30% of the population is enrolled in Medicaid. A lot of people. Also, go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, enjoy your day, take care, and have a good one. I'll catch you again later.